Probably the most crucial aspect of survival is situational awareness. Now, the problem with most people is that they're blissfully unaware of their surroundings, and this is actually what leads to most attacks to begin with. It's because you don't know what's going on around you, who's coming up on you, etc. So we're going to talk about that. So situational awareness, according to the United States Coast Guard training manual, is simply situational awareness is the ability to identify, process, and comprehend the critical elements of information about what is happening. For the military, it's happening to the team with regards to the mission. More simply, it's knowing what is going on around you. Now, as we mentioned much earlier on in the course, we talked about complacency very briefly. Complacency is probably one of the biggest aspects of situational awareness. People just get so overly comfortable with their situation because nothing's ever going to happen to me, for example. So we'll go over some commonplace statements that people tend to have in their minds or their mindsets. It can't happen to me. I live in a safe area, so I'll be okay. I have training, a gun, pepper spray, etc., so I don't need to worry about anything. Now, complacency is literally your worst enemy because that's what's going to keep you in the danger zone. People think that nothing is ever going to happen to them until something actually happens. People think that assault's never going to happen to them or whatever else. So when it actually happens, then they regret it. But by that time, it's too late because the damage is already done. So you want to avoid complacency as much as possible, and the only way to do that is to be situationally aware. Now, in the military, there's what is called an awareness color code chart. And by that, there's 4 different conditions. There's condition white, condition yellow, condition orange, and condition red. Each level escalates depending on the situation. So the vast majority of people in society are in condition white. They're completely switched off from the world, totally unaware and totally unprepared for what's going on around them, other than fatigue and stress and sleep, which limits your alertness or reduces it significantly. What I see with a lot of people is having things like headphones in their ears, music while they're jogging, looking down and playing on their phone while they're walking, and just not paying attention to what's going on around them. That's what a lot of people in our society do, especially the younger generation. So condition white, you absolutely do not want to be in condition white because that is when you are the most vulnerable. Condition yellow is the next stage. You're alert and aware, but also calm and relaxed. You're literally aware of what's going on around you, but you're not paranoid or anxious. You're able to easily detect a person's body language, and your heart rate is normal. So the benefit is that your heart rate is normalized, but you're also alert at the same time, compared to in condition white, where you have no idea what's going on around you. This is the ideal condition to be in. Going to condition orange, this is a heightened level of awareness. This is literally your gut feeling telling you that something is just not right with your situation. That's when you have to evaluate the situation and formulate a plan in order to counteract whatever you're having to deal with or going to have to deal with, whatever threat that you're going to have to prevent. This condition is actually what most police officers are in because they're actually trained to be hypervigilant. And all that is just an elevated sense of awareness, and they literally have to be in that 24/7, or they're trained mentally to be in that 24/7 because everything is considered a potential threat. Your heart rate is elevated, obviously, in this condition. So for a normal person, or even for a police officer, it's bad because it can lead being in that state of mind for an extremely long period of time, for years even. This leads to a lot of mental and health conditions. You do not want to be in this condition for prolonged periods of time. And this can be prevented, or helped to be prevented, by just being alert beforehand and detecting things before something does come right up on you before you get that gut feeling, that gut-wrenching feeling. Finally, we have condition red, which is literally the danger zone. You have to take decisive and immediate action in order to deal with the threat. Because at this point, things are the worst that they can get. So you don't want to be in condition white and you don't want to be in condition red. These are the two extremes that you want to avoid. And avoid condition orange if possible as well. Condition yellow is where you want to stay for the most part. So overall, it's just a process. It's just a matter of gathering the information on your situation, knowing who and what is around you, realizing if someone is walking up on you quickly or looking at you a certain particular way or something like that. Just being aware of people's actions and just what's going on around you. You got to understand all of this information and process it in order to come up with a plan, an escape plan, or a reaction plan in case things do turn out badly, in case a threat does come to surface. Having everything planned out and knowing how to work it as it comes along. Now let's talk about safety tips. Now this picture is pretty funny. It's the most interesting man in the world, talking about Dr. Dre beats headphones. But the point of the matter is that you shouldn't draw unwanted attention to yourself, especially if you can't react to what's around you because you don't know what's going on around you. So just some safety tips. Walk confidently. If you're moving in transition from one area to the next, you need to walk with confidence because studies have actually shown that criminals are essentially predators. Predators look for, in nature, the weakest prey that they can find. And when it comes to fellow human beings, that means people who look like they have no direction or don't know where they're going. They're just wandering around aimlessly, or they lack confidence. They have their heads stooped low and they just don't have any confidence whatsoever. So that's one thing that criminals look for and that you have to be aware of and try to fix if you have that problem. The other important thing is to scan the area around you. As mentioned, be aware of how many people are in the area, what behaviors the people around you are exhibiting, see if there are any potential threats or anyone that could cause any issues for you. Just have it in the back of your mind. Don't stare, but be aware. One of the biggest things with situational awareness is understanding who is actually in your vicinity or who's around you. It's typically socially unacceptable or awkward to stare at people. So just periodically scan the area and check to see who's around so you don't have that issue or that feeling of awkwardness or anxiety. The other big thing is to avoid distractions. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Keep the headphones out of your ears when you're running, when you're jogging. Don't play on your phone when you're walking, especially if you're walking alone. That's an easy way to get robbed or have something snatched from you. So just those little things, just avoid those distractions. And most of all, have a plan in place, or at least have some idea of what you're going to do if you do run into somebody who wants to rob you. That's all I have for situational awareness. It's extremely important topic, especially as it comes to pepper spray or any other self-defense tool. It's just a general concept that you need to be aware of and just know how to implement. If you want a more detailed insight on situational awareness as a whole, we will be offering a class on that in the future. So just be on the lookout for that.